What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? I hope you are all having a good weekend because there is something that we all knew from the start, from the jump. The media, it's corrupt. Fake news, paid for news. The fact that the SPLC has come out and has funded all these groups, and now think about it like a head of a hydra, right? Like if you get rid of the SPLC, you still have to deal with all the alphabet news media, conglomerates, corporations, and they're all doing the exact same thing. Like I think like the biggest tell was that one, and it's kind of weird how these people compiled it. I don't know who exactly. They compiled all these videos of these um news broadcasters or whatever, but reporters, and they're basically saying the exact same thing. Like it's not even like the deviation from the words is barely anything. It's like this is a threat to our democracy. This is a threat to our democracy. You know what I mean? Like they put them side by side and they're literally saying the same thing verbatim. And what does this let us up to? It has made our society so like insanely dangerous that even minorities, the ones that we're supposedly making the lives worse, Trump is like so mean to these like minorities and stuff because of like, their backgrounds and shit and deporting like the illegals and stuff. But this is going to be one for the history books, okay? Now, they all want to downplay it because of how bad it is. But what if you had two special interest groups that you're supposed to protect? So let's say the Hispanic native population and then like the illegal immigration population for some reason. Just like thinking in terms of the government, right? When they're taking all that dirty money and shit and like, jerking off to porn as they do, the child porn, the rapes and all that shit. The greatest incentive is to like always maintain a positive like view of these groups even when they're fighting against each other. So it's like for city TV news, like you won't even hear the description of the males. It's like male wearing black shirt, 5 foot, 6 foot tall, whatever. Like the most vaguest like descriptions ever. And everyone's like scratching their head like, what the fuck is this? Like, what kind of goddamn description is this? It's like if I told this to a cop, right? He'd just look at me and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna like fucking arrest you if you're fucking trying to talk shit or like fuck around with my investigation and shit, right?" Like if I just told the cops, like, "All right, what do you look like? Oh, he had a black shirt, and what was his skin color? What was his race?" I'm not allowed to say that, It's not that, you know what I mean? Yo, that's what we should be doing now. Yo, fuck the Toronto cops and shit. Yo, they want a description and shit. Yo, the same description that you give us on City TV News and be like, yo, I can't discriminate. Like, don't put yourself in trouble and like, mouth off and shit. But like, you know, be like, I can't discriminate. I don't want to discriminate against their ethnicity. I'm sorry. Like, you see how it works? It's like you get your fucking cause, your crime, your peoples on your side. You got to mask up because you're protecting like the children of like all these like rich, well-to-do people who have drug-addled children who will inherit maybe some money, but like most likely are just doing it for the kickbacks from the ESG or Soros or whatever name, whatever nefarious like types of people who are jerking it to this kind of like mayhem. And instead of like telling us the truth, they're just, oh, some guy attacked a woman and her poor infant child. He bit her baby's face. This male, exact same thing that happens here in Canada, happened there in Florida. I think it was Florida. Like, let me check. Uh, it was in Texas. My bad. San Antonio, Texas. Yeah. Sorry. Here at Azure News, I smoke, so I'm gonna forget it. But then I don't want to be inaccurate and say it's in Florida. No, it's in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, and the individual who did it was an illegal migrant, also Hispanic. So isn't it like race motivated? And the guy who did it was just really, really, really fucked up in the head. Like this is the kind of thing, right, where you could say in hindsight, it would have been better if he was never born, right? Or as a preventative measure, maybe you should have been castrated, as I would say, right? Like when you have like this kind of insanely disruptive behavior, I think like testosterone and people with like, mental lobe problems, like whether it's dwarfism and then like the brain just like can't, it's like getting squeezed inside of the head because like the skull is like, misshapen, whatever birth defects, inbreeding, fetal alcohol syndrome, whatever, right? And then that kid's gonna like he'll hit their teenage years and just be a complete like I guess the closest example I can give is Chris Benoit when he was just like juicing nonstop and then like he kept getting concussions to the head and the guy couldn't even think straight and he just like went fucking full rampage and you could blame the roids for that but like a lot of times we're seeing like when you get enough shots to the head like you're just not right in the head like people will say that Savage Jackson's son I forget what was his name again Rampage Jackson's son, I forget his name, who went like buck wild on that like amateur wrestling guy. Like he even said like before the thing, right? He got a concussion. Like he was dealing with that, and his head was like still ringing, and like even they even followed up on his live streams, and he was just like talking about that. And then like what I mean, he's just like following this guy to this like wrestling place. He's live streaming. He's like he doesn't know these people really all too well, and then it's just like out of nowhere Psycho Stu just like takes a beer can and doesn't really like smack him and shit, but like the disrespect of like doing this to somebody that you don't know, and that like what I mean, he's not like a professional wrestler, he's not nothing, and the guy that he was with, right, was just like, no, no, he's not part of the whatever, he's not part of, we're not shooting for something, right? Because everything to them is like it's all about the hysteria, the media, the buzz. But then the guy just went buck wild and just like fucking pummeled the guy to death almost. Like he could have died, dude. And we're realizing that like this kind of behavior, these kinds of like dysfunctional types of people, we can solve their problems with one solution, and it's castration. Like the idea that we have a society that protects. Oh my God! What happens if they are rehabilitated? And it's like, why would you want that man to be a father though? Why would you want that kid to be disgraced to have a fucking a psychopath of a father that like at any given point will just like fucking get triggered and just like do something, you know? But then like again, like you're seeing this a lot with like the liberals. We're seeing this a lot with the police. We're seeing this a lot. Like they're not good people. They're sick in the head people. Okay, when something like this happens and it's to your constituents, like of course I care because it's like a wife and I mean a young mother and her child, right? Whereas like they should be more politically invested in it because these are the types of people who would most likely vote for you, and then just like randomly out of nowhere because you're like screaming in everybody's ears that these are human beings and like they should be treated with respect and dignity. Like how much dignity do you think that 3-year-old got? Not just by like that this guy who attacked her, but like the news just like wiping their ass with the fact that we're gonna report on the news about what happened to you, but we're not gonna like we're gonna leave out the details that make us look bad, and we're just like some random guy just attacked you and shit, right? We'll show his face a little bit or whatever, and it's just it's facetious, it's duplicitous, and we see why it is. It's because they're not gonna win. They're gonna have kids, right? And their kids are well off. They're more affluent than everybody else. They have all the jobs, right? And everyone's gonna reject them. Like I said, old money stinks. And the people who have the old money got it from their parents, nepotism, the government. They're not actually hard workers, dude. They didn't earn it. Like what you're seeing is just like the takeover of fucking losers, dude. Like the Iranian regime. Case in point, the Iranian regime. Every single one of their kids looks like some fucking mutant ass ugly fuckling. You know what I mean? Like they just don't look normal. Like a normal human being. I've seen plenty of Iranians, plenty of like, Arabs, whatever, that just like, what I mean, they pass for normal or like, your average Arab dude. Like these guys, they have I don't know what it is. Like their face, their there's just a look in their eyes, and it's like you're starting to get it. You're starting to realize it. That like their parents, the genes that their parents had, the fucked up genes, inbred, whatever, like the brain damage frontal lobe thing just transferred to their kids, and we're dealing with generational stupidity. Like yesterday I was speaking intensively, exclusive, almost exclusively, about that incident in New York with the young teenager and some lady, so sorry, some other teenager that was in her class. Oh, sorry, actually in the older grade. I have to get these things right because the media's trying to like, paint it as like, oh, she was bullying him. No, she just didn't want to go out with him. And you're seeing this a lot. Like a lot of guys aren't just like getting pissed off at girls rejecting them. They're going out of their way to like hurt them and abuse them. And this is the list of things that they're willing to do. They're willing to like um, injure them, like physically injure them, just like punches, whatever, right? They're willing to, I guess, like facially scar them, you know, hurt them like exceedingly badly, and they're also killing them. This is David or D4VD, however the fuck you say his name. He has 40. That's right, 40. That means four PlayStations. Sorry, 40 PlayStation 5s hard drives. Right? Four of those. 40 of those. Sorry, I can't even handle it, man. It's like I'm going out of my way to balance the my own disk space, my SSD disk space on my PlayStation 5, mostly because it's like, what I mean, like games are huge, all right? Like there's obvious disparity between like me playing video games and like, somebody having video files on, any device whatsoever. And even in 4K, like the highest, unless it's like 8K, I don't know, like something like 2-3 gigabytes every second of footage. No, like they're not really that much comparable to video games, although technically sometimes you get like, weird ones. Like Marathon's actually pretty small for some reason. Yeah. Well, like 40 terabytes. Now, where have I heard this before? Terabytes of porn. Where have I heard this before? Oh yeah, that's right. All the other fucking pedophiles when they're getting caught and shit with terabytes of porn. Why is always a terabyte? Why couldn't you just get a PlayStation 5? Like, if you had that kind of money, like, hard drive prices are so. Oh, never mind. D4VD, or they're all calling David. I don't want to call him that. It's just like whatever. Just call him Dimwit. So Dimwit, like, had 40 terabytes, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, this shit's getting circulated for real. This is going around, obviously. And where are the police to like get rid of it? How is there 40 terabytes of child porn out there, and you got the fucking time to fucking pull me over while you're trying to harass me, right? I didn't fucking make contact with you. I didn't look at you. I didn't say, oh, look, there's a cop. Let me just say something for absolutely utterly no reason. No, you came at me, right? But for some reason, there's terabytes of child porn out. I think that's what we call incompetence. I think that's what we call coercion. I think that's what we would call cooperation. The cops, the Toronto police, yeah, the Peel police do this to me too. The Toronto police, the Peel police, they want to fucking rape them kids. And they're like, riding high on that aspect that, oh, you can't prove it. And if you accuse me of that, I could take you to court. And then they get high off of that, and then they get the Sikhs to like reinforce that way of life, if you will. It's funny how I think the Sikhs were having some sort of like get together and shit, and this is how fucked, right? You gotta hate yourself if you're a Jewish person, eh? You pay out like all this fucking taxes, and everybody has to pay taxes and hate your ass. It's just like, okay, so who's gonna come to protect me Just some cops. They're gonna make themselves more visible and shit. But when the Sikhs have their like, parade and shit, you see the cops are coming out with like assault rifles and stuff. We gotta protect our voting base. Totalitarianism at its finest. Okay? Mark Carney's faggot fuck son, right? This is him taking it out on the rest of us. Because his son's a fucking bitch? We all gotta fucking suffer from him wasting our taxpayer money to do what he wants to do. Right? To protect his voter base. No? Mm-mm. Because the way I see it, you created them. You gave them that like positions of power. And now that you've done all of that and also allowed like all this pedophilia to run rampant all around the world, from America to Canada to Europe. Europe especially is getting hit hard. Like I said that the last time, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, saying it again, but I gotta like gotta say it yet again, yet again. Another bunch of rapes happen in Europe. Like, do I even need to like elaborate on what happened? People got raped. Some girl got gang raped on the beach, and they were like filming her and smiling about it. Yeah, horrifying, horrifying shit. So what you gonna do in light of all this like bad news is like realize that the younger generation's got your back now. You know, I mean, they don't need to. You don't have to. Like, you're not gonna force them and shit. Like, it kind of sucks that I'm like an adult and I feel as if like I should have had my own kids and I should just be worrying exclusively about them. But it's like if I were to do that, like think about how bad their lives are gonna be as a result of this. If I alongside everybody else turns their back, like I am gonna turn my back on them. No, I'm not gonna turn my back on them. Not because I want something out of it, but because I just want like a better future for my children. And I think like them growing up, they're gonna sooner or later see the writing on the wall and be like, look, we just can't have this shit. Like Asmongold's seeing it, other people are seeing it, Rupert Lowe is seeing it, everybody's seeing it, man. Everybody's seeing it. Especially since the news of the SPLC coming out as being the group that funded the big three. And these are the ones that we know of. The big three being BLM, the Aryan Brotherhood, Antifa. Like, what the actual fuck? Like, all three of these groups basically hate each other, right? Like, you could argue that Antifa and BLM get along. Okay, fine. But I doubt that, like, BLM will throw down with, like, Antifa and shit. Antifa's just, like, it's too crazy. And then, like, you got, like, the Aryan Brotherhood. What? The fuck? How are you funding all three of these groups? And then like you have the media who are trying to like play this like fucking game with you, trying to tell you who the good guys and who the bad guys are. But unfortunately for them, just like everybody, just like everybody. Oh man, oh man, you saw it. It's like you saw society as this like weak, feeble prey that you can feast upon. But unfortunately for you, you got cursed by me, Azure News. See, I can actually put news in my like name, titles, whatever, and it has more relevance than mainstream media ever will. Well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for listening and watching my videos and all that. I'm telling you, man, it's all good. I mean, they're not, but I am. And if you watch my stuff, you're like, you'll get a better grasp of information. That's what's being given.